Okay, welcome to week 9 lecture. This week's topic is webtoon and mukbang. Those are more relative kind of category of the Korean popular cultural product compared to K-pop, K-drama, or Korean films. Those are more traditional, but webtoon and mukbang are more recent than those traditional categories. But they are still very widespread and influential and very interesting to delve into. And I hope some of you or many of you have been exposed to Korean webtoon or Korean mukbang. But anyhow, a very interesting topic to talk about. And before we talk about groups presentations, I want to talk, making sure that everyone has the same understanding about what mentioned mean for the timestamp, right? So mentioned by definition is talked about, right? But then our presentation have both verbal and visual input, right? So then the PowerPoint shows this term here. So even though it was not talked about at this timestamp, I can say it's the correct timestamp. No, that is not the case. It should be talked about along with the visual input at the timestamp, exact timestamp. Was the presenter say it or not, right? It was said somewhere else, but the PowerPoint slide shows that word in a different time, and you give that different time as a timestamp. That is not correct. And it's mentioned, the word is mentioned, not appeared, right? If it's appeared, whenever it's appeared, then you can argue, it's visually appearing here, but it's mentioned. Or if it's presented, still presented is verbally mentioned in a presentation with both verbal and visual input, but maybe you can stretch it, it's presented verbally. Then you can maybe use the timestamp when it appears on the PowerPoint slide. But even like it doesn't really work for only visual, based on only visual input. But for a visual input, like it's very hard, because one PowerPoint is talked about more than just a few seconds, right? Then you have to give a duration when the term is appearing on that PowerPoint from this time to this time, right? You cannot pinpoint just one time stamp, because it's visual input is longer, it's used longer than just verbally mentioned, right? And the nature of visual input for this kind of presentation is only to aid the verbal presentation. You can make presentation without any visual input, right? Because this is presentation. The traditional sense of presentation, it's not visual input only. If this presentation is visual input only, okay, you can give a timestamp based on the PowerPoint slide only. But it is not. It should be verbally mentioned. Do you even say visually mentioned in a presentation, this kind of presentation? No, it's verbally spoken, right? So making sure you get the right timestamp. Don't just copy someone else's, someone else has used this timestamp, so I just copy it. You have to check it yourself, right? Okay, so group 7s and group 8 made their presentations. Thank you for your presentation. And group 7's intro was quite interesting, that one group member saying, the traditional comic books are, he's not happy about the traditional comic books, right? So as an alternative, there's this webtoon, right? So that was an interesting intro. But in terms of the organization of the presentation, there are a few points that this group can improve, right? First of all, the table of contents was missing, and also at the end, the proper conclusion was missing too. And the more traditional work is needed. Each section, when there's this group members presenting, right, the talking head image, adding their names under the, the talking heads would have been really helpful. And the PowerPoint slides were decent. In the 3 main argument section, it will be helpful to add argument 1 is this, argument 2 is this, argument 3 is this. Like, so this kind of, in the subheadings, making sure that you're talking about argument 1 by adding that words would have been helpful. In the internal connection section was well done. And the external connection section had a very great choice of the external reading that is highly relevant to your group's reading. And the great discussion questions were really great, and answers were given also great. And it was good to add a reference list and division of labor. And okay, let's move on to group 8 let's move on to the presentation by group 8 about mukbang. So it has somewhat creative format with a creative intro. It worked quite well, and the PPTs were excellent. Editing was really well done too, and the great verbal delivery, that was good. And the 3 theme section was thoroughly covered the content, and the connections to the course content. They had 3 themes section, right, previously, and then they tried to make connections to each theme. So there was 3 subsections under the connections to the internal connection section. That was a good attempt, and the first subsection in the section clearly showed the relationships between the your reading and other course reading. And the second and third was okay, but I think the relationships could have been more clearly presented. And the external sources, the connection to external source section, the content-wise was good to cover, the mukbang culture has been spread internationally, and come up with some international examples of mukbang, like YouTubers and so on. But I think it need to clearly show or clearly state the connections or relationships between the reading and the external sources. And the external sources, this section need more need to include some in-text citations, so that audience can know this. You later on you have a very complete list of the list of reference list and which one was where, right? So the audience can know this external sources from this this citation, right? This which item from the reference list. And the discussion questions were really great, but then the answers, maybe you didn't have enough time, so we have to watch the next episode to get the answers. But anyways, I really love your discussion questions. And division of work, the adding that and the reference list, adding those at the end was good. But again, some materials in the list were missing the in-text citation, so it is hard to see which one was from where while the presentation was going on, right? And since Group 8 didn't provide their answers, or didn't have time to provide their answers to the discussion questions, I want to just briefly touch on their questions. So, does mukbang need to be banned? Because it has some bad influences on the audience. You can, this kind of discussion questions, there are no correct answers and wrong answers based on the who's answering, what they think, right? But personally, these kind of things cannot be really banned, right? Even though it may have some negative influences, right? And the viewers have some responsibilities. They must have some judgment. They don't eat like the mukbang YouTubers, right? For their health, things like that, right? And the parasocial relationships, it can be formed through mukbang, community. Example, like the audience watching mukbang or following some mukbang YouTubers, they develop these social relationships that it's usually one-sided, right? If I'm a fan of a specific mukbang YouTuber, I watch all the episode and I participate in saying, oh, eat this more, eat that more, like that, and then the YouTuber follows my asking or request. I may feel like I'm very close to this YouTuber, right? I have some special relationships to this YouTuber, but the YouTuber really doesn't know me, right? So that relationship is very one-sided, and that is what parasocial relationships are, right? So is it healthy? Is it unhealthy? it used to be thought very unhealthy, because it's not really real relationship. It's just in my imagination that I have certain relationship with this YouTuber, right? But then more studies done, and it turns out that it's not that unhealthy, right? I feel as a follower, I feel less lonely, right? It can give me some sort of comfort that I have certain relationships, right? But if it goes to an extreme, it can be unhealthy. That because all I think about is this YouTuber, or all I focus on this relationship, the parasocial relationship, and I just ditch other real relationships. If it goes that extreme, it can be unhealthy, right? It can be delusional, and I lose contact to my reality or relationship with real people, right? But unless it's not that extreme, it doesn't need to be it's harmful. It's just, maybe we cannot say it's helpful. It's quite healthy, but maybe it doesn't give, it doesn't have that very only negative effect. It can sometimes be helpful, right? But both questions were really great. I love the questions. And, before moving on to whatever I want to add on to the presentations, I want to just emphasize some aspect that you want to make it sure when you plan your final research project, right? You have to choose a topic as a group that is relevant to Korean wave, or relevant to the Korean wave or Korean popular culture, anything relevant. It can be about any category of the Korean popular culture product. Like you can focus on like a K-pop or K-drama, K-film, or even specific K-pop bands, any aspect of it, right? But then when you choose your topic, please think about how your chosen topic can be related to the course content, right? Course readings, because you have to cite minimum of 5 course readings, right? If you find a topic that is highly relevant to the Korean way, but we haven't talked about anything related to that topic in the course, or any aspect of the topic in the course, then it will be very difficult to make this to cite a minimum of 5 course readings, right? 5 course readings. So think about how, if there's any possible topics, maybe list of candidates, then think about, if we choose this one, how easy is it to make connection to the course materials, course readings, course content, right? And also your report should include 2 or 3 theoretical concepts and explanations from the course materials or course content. So what are the theoretical explanations or concepts, right? Those are like, for example, hybridity, cultural proximity, transnational proximity, globalization, transnationalism, transnational fandom, authenticity, emotional affinity. So all these concepts that we have learned so far, you need to use this concept to explain your chosen topic, like 2 or 3, right? So the purpose of this research project is, you pick this topic and go deeper, and you research this topic. But then in your analysis, in your report, you have to show that you understand the course concept or course materials. You show your understanding, and make connections to course materials by showing these connections, right? So I'm happy to give you feedback about your topic if you choose, and if you lay out how what kind of course concept or readings you can connect to. If you ask me my feedback, I'm happy to provide. So please consider, right, this how you will link your topic to the course content, and what kind of theoretical concept you will use, right? So my lecture part will be really short today. So Webtoon is is from the origin of the word is web plus cartoon, right? So it's the online publication of Korean cartoons, and it's kind of a new genre of publishing Korean comics. Like in Korean, it's called manhwa. it used to be just paperback, paper version, right? Like books, but comic books, right? So when I was a student back in Korea, there was this, there were these stores. It's not a bookstore, but it's like a comics store. So you go there, you read, you rent out and you read comics there. Well, you can rent out those books to your house and return. So they had this store, this manhwa bookstore. They had so many like comic books, and you can either read there or rent some from the store. But nowadays you can just read these comics online, and it's called webtoon, right? Actually, the global webtoon market is really big, and it's growing really fast, right? And the origin of the webtoon goes back in 2002, right? And this is an online portal site called Daum. They launched a platform called Webtoon. So that's the beginning of Webtoon. And if you think of like 2002, right? That's more than like 20 years ago, right? So back then, even in Korea, like online, the internet was working quite well. So a lot of people can read comics on their phones and online, right? And then later, 2005, another the South Korea's largest online portal and search engine, like a Google here, right? Naver, they launched the same platform called like a Webtoon, right? But this Webtoon is like it's a good example of one source multi-use content. So Webtoon is one source, but it can be used, it can turn into drama, or it can turn into like a films, or like the group the presentation mentioned about when Webtoon meets K-pop, right? And introduce other cases when Webtoon was turned into different types of culture content, right? So it's very because Webtoon itself, it's like a storyboard, right? So it's very easy to turn them into like a video content, like dramas or films. And so why Webtoon became so popular, right? Because Korea has this strength in IT industry. A lot of people can easily access back even like 20 years ago, like online, right? And then also the Korean local consumption culture, the term called snack culture. Even like 20 years ago, instead of spending a lot of time engaging in deep reading, people liked just spending very short time in consuming some cultural content. And nowadays everyone is like that, like a TikTok and all that is very short, right? But 20 years ago, this kind of snack culture was not as popular not right now. But back in Korea, Koreans are so busy, they're working so hard, so they wanted to spend short time, they're eating snack, not a full meal, right? When they consume cultural content. So that Webtoon suited this kind of snack culture, right? And then it spread. The Korean Webtoons have spread to many countries, right? And we can think of many other regions, but also there is this, I want to emphasize this active participation of the Webtoon fans, same as, K-pop fans. They translate, they volunteer translating the K-pop lyrics into their own language, right? So Webtoon fans too, they introduce Korean Webtoons to their own countries, and they translate the content into various, their own languages and stuff, right? And the worldwide popular, the Webtoon, the Naver Webtoon is the number one Webtoon platforms in the world. So they serve, they serve in 100 countries, including USA, Canada, Japan, and France, and they offer content in 10 different languages around the world. And nowadays they're reaching 82 million monthly active users, and among the users, 70% of the users are non-Koreans, right? So you can tell how popular these Korean Webtoons are, right? And it's kind of meaningful that Korean companies, these platforms, right, like the genre itself, webtoon is very originated from Korea, but then through what platform global users, fans access this genre of the cultural content? It's Naver, right? That's like a Korean company, right? So it's not like they're like the first movers rather than followers, right? But then in terms of the variety of webtoon genres, tend to kind of shrink because the webtoon creators, artists, they tend to produce what readers want, and then the readers, they want some themes like a school life, school gangs, or fantasy romance, or romantic comedy. Those are like popular among the readers. Then webtoon genres are kind of losing the variety, and that may not really good for the sustainability, right? And the mukbang, like a eating broadcasting, or a 먹자, let's eat, and broadcasting, 방, like a 방송 broadcasting. So eating broadcasting, like a food casting, right? And it kind of the group also introduced, it started like a mid 2000, but then the platform is YouTube, right? Why is it so popular, right? Because it's kind of entertaining to eat other people, it's very entertaining to watch other people eating. And when I have food craving, I can satisfy my food craving indirectly, not fully but indirectly, right? And it has a function of easing loneliness, right? As I just mentioned before, a lot of single household, and you have to eat alone, and you watch other people eating while you're eating. At the same time, you feel like you're eating together, right? And then I don't know this is true, but the amount of food one craves is connected to the amount of loneliness one feel, right? So if you're lonely, you may crave a large amount of food. That may be true, but then anyways, our brain can satisfy this by watching other people eating, kind of because it fulfills a craving to feel emotional emptiness. Maybe there's some truth in it, right? But then it's not only easing loneliness, but it kind of creates some sort of kind of community of eating through this viewer and host interactions. So when this mukbang is live, right, then the viewers can request the mukbanger or YouTuber, or mukbang broadcasting, can you eat this? Or the YouTuber can ask of what should I eat next, and then the viewer will just request, why don't you eat this and that, and there's this social eating happening, right? Or sometimes the YouTuber will say that, oh, let's meet at 6 p.m. today, and I will be eating jajangmyeon, like black noodle. Why don't you order black noodle and we eat together, right? So like there's this kind of community building activities. So you really feel like you're part of this group, right? So this one is like a capture of Ziyang. If you see those like 4 big bowls, there's like she finished this jajangmyeon, the black noodle, and that's like a lot of that's a huge portion. It's like 4 people, right? And she's, as you can see, she's very tiny, but she eats. I have seen a few of her shows, and she eats like so much. And it's just unbelievable how she can eat that much food, right? But anyways, so through webtoon and mukbang, we can see this hybridization and globalization, and also it shows features this fandom culture. Fans actively participate, and they influence the content of this webtoon and mukbang, and there's this online community building happening, and the role of fandom, or like the role of fans is not just passive consumption. They actively participate in this production and circulation of webtoon and mukbang, right? And we can see the transnationality, and we can see this affective affinity. The fans feel like they're emotionally close, right? And compared to other genres, I mean, we can see all these things happening in other genres of Korean popular culture, but then this webtoon and mukbang are unique because they're like, not the follower, it's more like a first mover, especially webtoon. Even the platform is, created by Korean company, but the genre itself, like a webtoon genre and mukbang genre, are kind of, originated in Korea, like, it first happened, right, in Korea. So those two are kind of unique in terms of that aspect, right? So this is it for today's lecture, and thank you for your time.